It's live. We are live now. Is that what the? Oh my gosh, what am I
The
doing?
theme music needs to play.
The theme
doesn't it?
music's gonna play. It is a live show. It's not even a podcast anymore. It's a show. All right, so I start my Mondays off by waking up, saying good morning to my beautiful wife, thanking every moment that I'm here, and I also open up my phone and read the latest energy news coming to you live from wherever it's coming to you from. And here's the deal: Sunday, fun fact, energy doesn't sleep, energy doesn't take a nap, and
Still
that's
use
why
it.
we're so passionate about these energy conversations to bring these towards you. And honestly, I think after doing these live shows, it's kind of fun to kind of obviously be here in person. I want to thank Mike and his family for hosting my wife, but it's cool being here because being here in person, like, this is such a cool project that we've done. And
Yeah.
I think, and obviously, if I'm speaking just for myself, just pretend I'm speaking for both of us. It's been such a cool project, like, that we've done, that we've taken on. I enjoy these conversations. We were talking in the car the other day. Like, I'm enjoying learning more. Like, I think the questions that I'm asking, I think probably might resonate with a lot of people that might not be in the energy space,
Yeah.
and kind of might want to learn and have these conversations. And I just think it's a very it's a fun project we're doing, and it's no longer a podcast. Podcast takes more work. What we're gonna do. This is shifting. We're going to be going over the headlines. We're going to be going hot topics. And we want to make this kind of a regular thing. We're not promising anything, but we're hoping on something. How about
Just
that?
rip it. I like
We're
it.
hoping on something like a regular
Yeah.
thing. We just provide you energy headlines where you kind of go about your day, and start your day with these a mid-morning show, because
Yeah.
Pacific time.
Well,
But
we're
yeah,
early.
we're a little bit early, but I dig it. But also, like, it's so this morning is gonna be kind of a quick, brief Sunday special. We're gonna hit the headlines. We're gonna listen what's been grinding Mike's gears on the couch as he sips his morning coffee that he needs to kind of get on
Of course.
camera and talk about what's going on. And I'm gonna actually kind of bring up something, a little fun fact. I think it's kind of interesting. You get, when it comes to energy, when it comes to a lot of topics, whether it's education, energy, whatever, it's so easy to get lost in the weeds.
Sure.
It's so easy to start dialing and get focused on situations, or like, oh, well, what about this? It's like
Yeah.
gaslighting energy discussions.
Yeah.
I feel like it's like, so it's sometimes interesting to kind of pause and take a step back. Say, does this work? Does this not work? Can this provide what we need today or not? Oh, what about the carbon sequestration? What about this? What that? There's a lot of what ifs out there. So I like kind of like dialing it in and just kind of. We have Justin Brignac tuning in. Good morning,
I'm waiting
Justin.
for Daryl too.
I went for Bob too. So
Yeah.
Justin's kind of tuning in. What's going on, Justin? Hope you're enjoying Midland, brother. Miss you. We have Ahmad Zandi tuning in. Hi, morning. Good morning to you too. Thank you for tuning in. And then so kind of that mindset that I had, and kind of like diving into like looking at things, the whole energy gaslighting situation. I kind of want to kind of pull things back a little bit. And of course, I got to say hi to our number one fan out there.
Monica.
Good morning,
Monica's
Monica.
here. She's
Thanks,
listening
thanks for tuning in. All right. See Dino Papa's Pyro Phase.
I like the
that's
name.
a great
Dino
shout.
Papa's Pyro Phase.
All right,
I like
see
all
Dino Papa's his opening to us is Pyro Phase. I'm loving this. That's
love it.
probably one of my favorite comments
Yeah.
out there right now. So
Yeah.
thank you for tuning in. See Dino on the Sunday morning. So pulling back, pausing, and before we kind of get into energy discussions on this stuff, I think it's crucial sometimes to like stop, because it's so easy. Like, when you're in an argument, like with a friend or a spouse, and you kind of start holding on like little details, like that's gonna win this thing. But at the end of the day, that's not moving your relationship forward. That's not moving the conversation forward. That's not moving the dialogue forward. And I think a relationship with energy should probably be the same thing. It needs to be more productive, constructive.
Yeah, relationship with energy.
Yeah, relationship with energy.
Is your relationship with energy healthy right now?
And honestly, or is it kind of lost in this energy? Are you being energy gaslit? So I'm going to read a tweet right here from Nick Dealis,
our good friend, CNG,
CNX.
Excuse me.
He says CO2 is 0.04%, 0.04% of the atmosphere. And honestly, I highly suggest you kind of give this guy a follow and a listen to. He's very vocal when it comes to Energy Realities, and he's based out of Pennsylvania. And I had him on my podcast, my other podcast called Energy Crew Podcast.
Yep.
Great. I've had him on twice. Just solid guy. So he writes this morning, 39 minutes ago. CO2 is 0.04% of the atmosphere, 400 ppm. Humans create 3% of that 0.04%. So humans create 3% of that 0.04% CO2 in the atmosphere. Human activity is a drop in the climate ocean. Yet, climate policy assumes human activity drives climate to ruin, which justifies control of the individual and stifles choices.
A lot to unpack there.
I mean, and
he packs it in densely.
He really does. He packs it in 130 characters or less, doesn't he? Or 120 characters, whatever X is. But I mean, I think that's a great kind of a jump into kind of like whenever things kind of like, and that's the thing for me too. Like, there's so many different avenues I can go on about like the solution to the carbon this. So for me, like, look, that's for a lot of smarter people. I like talking about the energy facts-based reality today for the everyday people.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, let's not get lost in the energy gaslighting. What's going on? I just think that was just a very interesting insight about the amount of, I guess, the decisions that are made and kind of what's behind it doesn't warrant the decisions or the results from the decisions. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think when his quote talks about being able to control people through this notion that we control the environment, and I think we were talking about it last night about how you've come into town and it's been sunny for 4 days, and Jess and I were saying, wow, you guys really hit it well, because it's been cloudy and rainy all year here. And I think that quote is what Nick put out is a perfect example. We're sitting under an umbrella because it's drizzling lightly here.
Drizzling
in September, because we have an El Nino weather system, which happens every 5 to 7 years, and it creates a lot of cloud cover, a lot of moisture, a lot of unique characteristics that we're not typically used to in a drought climate. You probably thought coming here, well, sunny in California all the time.
Yeah. I always had a joke. I was a joke when it was always sunny in Philadelphia. Like with my friends and I was like, man, it's always sunny in San Diego. I've never been to San Diego. But that is the stereotype. Like, it's always sunny out here. The weather's beautiful out here.
Right. And what happened last year in California, we had rain that we hadn't seen in about 20 years. We had a very rainy year. Now we're going to have another rainy year with El Nino again, back to back. And those are two things that no meteorologist or weather person could have predicted 3 years ago, let alone 6 months ago.
And again,
and so how much, I think the question to ask is, do humans influence the climate, the environment? Of course we do.
Yes.
Of course we do.
Yes.
But do we really think that the government and policies can control people to the point where then we can control what happens with the weather?
That's a very narcissistic view on things. It really is. It's a very energy narcissistic view on things. How about this? Not if I reduce my consumption, and that's kind of the only way to kind of reduce that carbon intensity is reduce consumption. At the end of the day, buy less stuff. That's kind of it. Take more walks, buy less stuff. But it's such a narcissistic view. It's like, oh, well, if I tell these people how to kind of live, or kind of where to get this, or what they need to do, or when they can wash their clothes and all that stuff, I can go outside and that's going to cool down the temperature about for another 2 degrees and all that stuff. It's such an interesting kind of, and then yet you have all these efforts and all this stuff, and the next thing you see like a volcano erupt in the middle of the Pacific, and you see the amount of tons of CO2. But it's like, so all that was for nothing. But let's keep marching forward and still have families pay the price, still have a higher impact on the environment, which is the opposite of what we're trying to say we're doing. So anyway, let's do it. So it's a kind of a rainy day here, all this stuff. I want to kind of do a tour the headlines on Mike's brain. What is going on Mike's Twitter headlines right now and in the energy environment? What are we looking at?
I was just looking at the weather that I sent you before you came. It's supposed to be 85 and sunny today. So we don't even know 4 or 5 days out what's going to happen.
Well,
just kind of to drive that point home.
Well, to drive that point home, that's not just San Diego. Most meteorologists don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, well, But we know what we're going to do to the weather and the climate in 20 years.
Yeah. If
So
we
anyway,
All right, now we're going live to the headlines.
Yeah.
Mike, take us there.
So there was actually a lot of headlines this Sunday
Yeah.
morning that all related in some way to what we've been talking about the past several days. The first one that I opened that really hit me was the state has performed an audit of its utilities, and ultimately California's 3 largest utilities have increased their rates 75% in the last 7 years. There are a lot of nuggets in this
Wait,
quote unquote audit
repeat that again. Say it again. So the state did an audit.
of the major utilities.
Okay.
They've increased their rates 75% over the last 7 years.
That's good for the consumers. Okay, go on.
Yeah, great. They find that SDG&E and its parent company Sempra have record profits.
And what is that for the people that are out there not from California?
San Diego Gas and Electric.
Thank you.
Have recorded record profits along the way. They've exceeded their approved rate of return. So we talked about the utilities go to the Public Utility Commission to approve their projects and rates of return. They've exceeded their rates of return. They've averaged, I think it was 8.5% rate of return.
Okay.
That'd be nice to know that you get a fixed rate of return. But they also have these balance accounts that hold the excess cash flow and the revenue. These utilities hold these balance accounts.
Okay.
The auditors only audited 13% of those balance accounts. So I'm reading this. I'm like, wait a minute. How can you say they've only increased 75% in the last 7 years, but you haven't even audited?
They've only 13%.
13% of the balance accounts. So it sounds like this other hidden account that we don't get to see is unchecked.
Well, that's what 70% of
75%
of the transactions are not being looked at, but yet we're already.
Well, I don't think it's the transaction; it's the balance account, and
account.
I'm sure we have to look into defining exactly what a balance account is. But the only reason or justification for these rate increases that they've identified in this audit has been wildfires, mitigating wildfire risk. So that opens up a whole nother
that's
line
Pandora
of questioning.
box, bro.
So now we talked about 2020. The wildfire year was so bad we wiped out 20 years of greenhouse gas savings in that 1 year.
Yeah.
So okay, the utilities are jacking up our rates 75%, but we're still having worse fires,
and it's still because of climate crisis.
And it's still because they are causing the fires in a lot of cases, which we'll get to another headline, due to bad infrastructure. But it's pretty incredible. And this is the San Diego Union Tribune.
BS. It's BS.
The audit only reviewed 13% of their excess balance accounts. 13%.
So are they
who's looking at the other 87%?
Are they stopping at 13%? Are they continuing their audit?
Yeah. Is the audit concluded? Is it said, wildfire? It's a wildfire risk. They need to gouge you.
And utility companies getting
so
away
record profits,
like heroes.
Price gouging. We don't know where everything's accounted for.
That sounds
a lot like
very familiar.
Petroleum Oversight Committee, right?
Or the czar.
The
petroleum czar. If you disagree with what I say, you're in trouble.
Yeah. So there's that.
That's cool.
Second, how about this on a global one?
Oh, real quick, let me interrupt. For those that are watching out there, please head over to YouTube. We're gonna be doing these live on YouTube. I think we're gonna be kind of shifting over there. So head over, Energy Fact Chats on YouTube. Head over there. Make sure you check it out there. Of course, it'll be on LinkedIn. But I do want to say a lot. You can find all the historical conversations that are still relevant today on YouTube on the Energy Fact Chats playlist. So I'm just letting you know where to find everything. So go on.
Let's stick with utility. Actually,
let's stick with
utility negligence in Maui fire sparks nationwide infrastructure debate. So we talked about this. Are we hardening the grid while we're transitioning? And
are we just transitioning?
And the quote I pulled here is, quote, "There is still a long way to go in creating a cohesive plan and providing enough funding to ensure the critical infrastructure across the country is stable." So same as the high rates, 75% increases in California utilities. We've got Maui Electric, Hawaiian Electric responsible for this Maui fire down lines. Are we hardening the grid, or are we just building new projects without
that makes sense
protecting the consumer, the public,
that
the
makes sense? Are we building on top of our house and doing all these cool projects without checking, making sure that our foundation is still set? We brought in more people, brought in more families. Is our home Can we handle what we have before we start building?
Yeah,
another
what good
project?
does it do
Yeah.
if you don't bury the lines and it causes a fire and it burns down?
You
your
know what
home?
it's like? It's like what we're doing. We're spending money on a wish list, not a need list.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, what do you
that's
need?
true.
What do you wish for? Yeah,
That's true.
yeah. Well,
And we need to prioritize where's the
Yeah.
money going and where should
what do
it
we
be
need?
going?
What do we wish for?
Right.
Those are very
Exactly.
different things. Those are very different things.
So
As I tell my 10-year-old daughter.
as we think about the transition and the shift to renewable energy, let's go to Germany. Within Germany, the
We're in Germany.
shift to renewable energy is causing a political backlash.
The green lash.
The green lash,
Yeah.
as consumers are facing higher energy prices and greater uncertainty. This has created a quote unquote green lash. Meanwhile, Germany grapples with unprecedented trade deficit.
Okay.
So the economy is in free fall in Germany.
Okay.
China is not ordering what they normally order from German manufacturers and vice versa.
Right.
Germany, the people are boomeranging against their
Fast.
politicians.
And here's the deal about that boomerang. I'm gonna pause real quick on
Yeah.
that green lash boomerang,
Yeah.
which sucks. It's because you have, the green lash. Obviously, that's going to come back again. So like, it's going to be us versus them. And that mentality of this versus that. It's like, if anything, it needs to be again starting off as a pragmatic conversation, so you don't have this anger when it ever does come back, when
Right.
reality is not hitting. Also, you see the CEO of the Russian Gazprom, whatever it is,
Yeah.
he's saying, hey, get used to Russia. Don't be scared of Russia. Otherwise, get used to no gas.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
pretty much like, hey, be comfortable with Russia being in the room. Otherwise, we're going to cut off your supply
Right.
of energy.
Yeah.
On how you run your country.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's happening in Germany. It's causing the economy to collapse and the people to rise up against the politicians because they have soaring energy prices and greater uncertainty.
And you're also seeing people kind of getting fed up with this over in the UK over this week. 2 days ago, I showed him an article where it's there. I think if your vehicle doesn't meet a certain fuel efficiency or something like that, you get fined, I think, like £1.12 a day, which is about $2 a day or something like that. Okay?
Yeah. Hey.
Or something. I think it's 12 pounds. It's something real. Obviously, there's a difference. Regardless, there's a pound. We have to get the gaslight.
Pound,
But
12 pounds.
but people are kind of taking to the street and cutting down these cameras at record numbers because
Yeah.
they can't afford to go out and buy a new car or get this or get that. So they're kind of
It's cheaper to break the monitoring devices.
It's cheaper to and they're getting screwed because they can't go out and afford. So not only can they not adapt to the mandated change that's happening, they're getting screwed if they can't. So yeah, they're taking the street. So you are seeing a backlash on the population level against this stuff.
Absolutely. Let's go. Let's see. There's two more. I think there's two more. Oh wait, let's go to China.
Let's go to China.
China is building so many cars with internal combustion engines that they don't have enough ships to move all these ICE vehicles to their foreign countries they're shipping to. They cite Russia as a big buyer of Chinese vehicles. But this gets me because we often hear about how China's leading the charge. They have more EVs than any other country. China's leading the transition. It's all baloney. They're selling more ICE vehicles to other countries than they ever have. So many so that they need to build more ships to move them.
How about this? We're taking China to California right now. Another quote by Nick. Chinese government mandated and subsidized EVs on epic scale. To date, around 400 Chinese EV makers have folded, and EV price wars rage in China, making things worse as China economy stalls.
Yeah.
Now, here comes Cali and US copying a failing Chinese EV playbook. How do you suppose it turns out here?
Well, and it's interesting because this article
It all
cites
ties together.
and this was also in the San Diego Union Tribune, that China has a large amount of auto manufacturing factories that are built, and so the theory is, well, we got to push cars through them. And they're probably different factories than where they're making EVs. Maybe they're not, but that China's basically saying, hey, we're going to use these factories. We're going to build internal combustion. We'll sell them to India. We'll sell them to Russia. We'll sell them to whoever will take them.
Yeah.
They don't care about the environment. They're
No.
not transitioning all they might talk about this EV transition, but it's not happening. At least not in the way we hear U.S. auto manufacturers saying, oh, we're only going to sell EV vehicles. Well, that's not what China's
I think
doing.
the further you kind of dive into the whole EV this, EV that, people start understanding that the switch to EVs it's a nice thing to do. However, the impact that you really think that you're doing and the support you're having for the environment isn't really there.
Yeah.
If you start looking at the supply chain, you start looking at where you're sourcing from, you start looking at the source of electricity, where you're getting it from, which kind of where this whole Stored Energy Fact Check started. So it's a cool thing to have. Don't get me wrong. I think they're cool. I think Teslas are really legit. I'd drive one, but I also understand where that's coming from. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where it's like, look, once people start dialing, just because EV sales and all this stuff is kind of blowing and going, that doesn't take away from the fact on the impact that it has.
Yeah.
So
nice to have, don't need to have.
Yes,
I
it's
could
a
use
wish
one
list. Yeah.
and I could use one internal combustion engine.
Right.
Yeah. So that's the state of the transition in China. They're building more ICE vehicles than ever. Interesting.
And so we started broad, and now we're bringing it back. Let's localize this.
So one, I love reduce, reuse, recycle.
Those
That's what we grew up
1990s,
in the 90s, right? Reduce, reuse, recycle.
Well,
it turns out
we do not trash it.
We can't even do that, which isn't
mean?
funny. California's plastic bag ban is failing.
Go on.
So what's happening is the grocers and the grocery stores are buying plastic bags for a nickel a bag and selling them to the people at the grocery store checking out for a dime. So they're making money on the bag.
Okay.
The bag has to be recycled. It has to have the reduce, reuse, recycle symbol on it.
Good.
However, the landfills can't deal with the bags.
Yeah, there's a lady.
When you recycle them, they have to pull them out of the plastic and of the recycling system.
And so the picture that he has that's associated with the article is a
lady sorting.
A lady sorting
the bags. She
from
has
all
to
the
pull
cardboard.
the bags. Yeah,
from all the cardboard.
Yeah. And I know a guy, I won't name the coffee shop, but they have bins that separate trash, compostable items, and plastic.
Starbucks.
But what he's told me is there's only one facility in Southern California that can handle like the full spectrum of recycling the plastic.
Yeah.
It
just feels good to drop it.
And so what he says is they have to actually schedule a truck to come from Los Angeles to pick up certain types of garbage
from LA?
that is recyclable or non-recyclable. And ultimately he told me, we send it all to the landfill.
Yeah.
But they keep the sign so the customer believes that they are recycling. They're not.
Well,
they're
funny
sending it all to the landfill.
It's not just that coffee shop. I mean, my wife and I were walking. I think we were walking around during a honeymoon. I don't know if it was Paris or something like that. We're walking around, but like even like in the States, you walk around the cities, like you have those bins like trash, recycle, and you lift it up. It's like the same bag.
Right.
I mean, that happens like more. Yeah. But it makes you feel good. It makes you feel good. It's that feel good. Hey, I'm doing something.
Yeah. Yeah. So this article in the LA Times talks about how there's 20 to 30 foot high fences around all the landfills, and it's not to keep people out. It's to keep the bags in.
So they're not blowing out.
So ultimately, we can't even get off plastic bags. And that kind of ties into all of the beginning quote about managing CO2, about thinking we're going to manage how the world, warms or doesn't warm. And we can't even control our consumption of baggies.
At the end of the day, it's reducing your consumption. If you can go to the store with a reusable bag, by all means do that. If you can walk or bike instead of getting in your car, by all means do that. It's reducing your consumption. It's being smart about energy. And I'm sitting here right now.
Making your coffee at home.
It's making your coffee. And I'm sitting here kind of looking here and I see skylights at your house. I was wondering how those lights came on during the day, but I see skylights. That way you don't have to turn on the electricity in there. So it's all about reducing consumption. It's not about like, if we do this, we can turn the thermostat down outside and control this, control that. There's smarter people out there to figure that. I'm here to talk about the people that matter, and that's you, the consumer.
This is the last one I got, which kind of ties it all together.
Okay, and then we'll take it to the comments.
Yeah, wow, a lot of people hanging out.
Yeah, a lot of people on Sunday.
So Edwin Chen opines in the LA Times in favor of geoengineering since we can't seem to stop using fossil fuels. And I tweeted, what could go wrong? So he's making the point that we're not able to get off fossil fuels. We're not able to get off of the fuel sources that are causing climate change and warming. So what we're going to have to do, and he calls it Plan B. This is actually Plan B, where they're going to seed clouds with different elements. They're going to spray aerosols in the atmosphere.
Bro, you're talking
to
like
reflect
geoengineering
Geoengineering. They're
our
going to
climate?
put balloons up there.
Oh, gee, I think I
to
saw a
reflect
documentary called The
sunlight.
Matrix when we tried to black out the sun so the
Yes.
robots wouldn't rise. And what happened?
Yeah.
That's not going to happen. But I'm just saying, like, let's chill out. Let's have comfortable human lives. Let's increase the energy poverty where it's needed, and let's just let's chill out with controlling the environment. Okay.
Wouldn't you? I mean, I would rather.
That's
if
I'm a climate activist, that would make me
that would
irate.
freak you out.
That'd make me
It'd
irate.
Make you mad.
That'd piss me off.
Yeah. Well, think about it. If we're not able to change the climate, and we're going to have wets, if we're going to have wet climate in places like San Diego, you deal with it. It's not a matter of let's try to control it. Let's play God. It's a matter of, okay, if it's 120 degrees in Saudi Arabia, they probably don't work there. Well, that's a bad example. They probably send you out to work because they're all slave laborers. If it's in the United States and it's 120, you work from 3 a.m. to 9 a.m. You change the work schedule.
Yeah.
You change your exposure to the elements. You build your infrastructure to allow you to stay inside in air conditioning. If things are really going to escalate at that kind of a pace.
We're like becoming like a high maintenance date.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, oh, where's this? I don't want that. Like, oh, can we change the temperature of the outside? It's like, no. Like,
I don't
we're
want
not doing
tomatoes
that.
on my
I
salad.
don't want tomatoes on my salad, but it's like enough. Like, let's just let's just chill and survive. Let's have reduced energy costs. Let's have reliable energy costs. ERCOT squeaked by yesterday. Thankfully, ERCOT squeaked by yesterday with no blackouts or rolling that I knew. But anyway, so
They
great
send you a text message yet today?
no text message.
Do you
no
miss
text
them?
message.
You must miss ERCOT.
I'll tell you what, there might be some players out there that like save their side pieces as ERCOT.
You're gonna
baby,
need
it's
a
just
new
ERCOT
phone.
text me
You're
again.
gonna need a new phone.
It's just
just
ERCOT
for-
text me again, baby. I swear. It's just ERCOT. Who's this ERCOT? So anyway, all right, we're gonna take it to the streets now. All right. So let's see what we got going on. We have Ahmed saying, I wrote an article, Energy Management Planning in Normal Operation and Self-Healing.
Self-healing.
Deal it,
I like
man.
that.
I'm all about self-healing. My wife's very involved in that too with sound healing. All right, Keith Saunier, good morning. Just look how far we've come in the oil and gas industry by being zero discharge policies. Oil and
like
gas
that.
space has come tremendous.
Marine debris policies, etc. Yeah, I like
But
that.
what about other countries that don't have these policies in place? Is America the only one being looked to save the earth?
That's a
So
very
this
good
is
point.
this is exactly kind of a theme that we have on a lot of this, whether it's California shutting down domestic production because they want to help the environment. However, they're still bringing the 600,000 barrels of oil that's needed for the calorie intake for California, for the island of California. However, it's like so why not produce it domestically when we do have all these EPA regulations? We do have these environmental regulations and all that stuff. However, it's so difficult to do that here. We're just bringing it in from other countries and other places that don't have those environmental regulations, that don't really care about flaring. They don't really care about the cleanup. They really don't care about methane leakage or emissions or anything like that. But yeah, but at the same time, as American companies are being held to a standard that have to exceed the standard and still can't even operate in that. But yet we're getting the sources from elsewhere.
Well,
So,
let's give Keith a bonus article. Guyana and their explosion of development that's happening. They're going to ramp up to 1.2 million barrels a day. And here's
here's an energy
visitor, an energy fact visitor.
number one.
They're going to ramp up to 1.2 million barrels a day, operated by Exxon. And so Exxon, it goes back to this theme of we're shutting down big oil here in the United States or in California, really the United States. Exxon has been able to pay fines in Guyana to flare as they explore and develop this new resource, which is then going to challenge OPEC. But to Keith's point, you're just putting the production responsibility elsewhere. And it's the same major operators that are operating these sites. It's not a new startup. It's ExxonMobil.
Well, what we're doing also, we're making it so difficult to operate and all that stuff. I mean, the island of California is becoming the island of America, where it's like we're not producing anything domestically. We're not getting what we need. We're not getting our calories domestically. We're getting that from everywhere else. And what happens if you upset places elsewhere? What happens if there's turmoil elsewhere? What happens if the environmental people are like, let's look into where we're getting our oil?
Right.
Then it's like, well, why are we doing it domestically? Well, now it takes another X number of years to invest in capital and infrastructure and all that stuff. So it's like, let's not be an island yet.
Well, and to that point, Senator Shannon Grove in California had a bill, SB 15, that wanted the California Energy Commission to track emissions leakage and human rights abuses in other countries that are supplying
What happened
California.
to that?
They killed it. The environmental activists, the environmental lobbyists did not want the state to enact this bill and this policy, so they squashed it in appropriations.
Well, that's
so
very
the climate-friendly activists do not want to monitor
the climate.
They don't want to monitor where the oil comes from, as long as it's not from California.
That's a very difficult.
Out of sight, out of mind.
That is a very difficult conversation to progress if you're not going to be even have that conversation.
Right.
So
right.
that's. I mean, it's okay. All right. Let's take it to Stephen Gregory. It's all bogus. The U.S. is the safest, cleanest energy producer in the world. True. This climate bogusness, this climate spaghetti negativeness is a money grab by politicians. I will take choice. If I want to drink Coca-Cola while shooting my AR on the back of my Ford F-250, that's my business.
Wow.
America.
Whoa.
Stephen's riled up this morning. Stephen's riled up. We got
a happy Sunday.
New fit. I love it. I love it. We're fueling this. We're like, we can't. I'm happy Sunday. No, but this should make you think. This should have you having conversations about energy and all stuff. So anyway, thank you all for tuning in. You have anything else for us?
I got nothing. Avalon, do you have anything?
You have anything?
You want to say bye-bye? No.
Oh, there we go. I'll take that.
A little.
Well, y'all, thank y'all for tuning in. Energy Fact Chats. Again, check out our YouTube channel, because that's where we're going live. We'll do more of these live because we think the headlines is important. It's not the post-production stuff. The post-production stuff is really important. My other podcast, Energy Crew, check that out. But seriously. Thanks for tuning in, and we hope to see y'all soon. And
the children. Pizza, yeah. We'll get some pizza.
Coal fire pizza. It's the best pizza.